stronger, feel better, have sex whenever you want. Words to live by, of course.
It's a good show. See this segment, it's breakout, right?
Right,
it's a breakout segment.
Okay, well, we're going to get back to the sex whenever you want. These are the messages in drug ads aimed directly at patients and consumers. Is it a good idea? This is Dr. Stephen Greer, a non-practicing medical doctor. He's founder and manager of the SG Healthcare Fund. Dr. Greer, you're here as a physician today. I know you have real issues with a lot of the direct-to-consumer advertising. Interestingly enough, in all of the research in TiVo, the only types of commercials that people are not zapping out are beer ads because they're funny and pharmaceutical ads because they're informative and people want that information.
I would argue that they're not too informative. There's three types of ads. There's the reminder ads that just simply put the brand name up there and say nothing about the drug or use. And then there's the type of ad which goes on to elaborate about the drug and what it's for. So a lot of these ads are not informative at all.
And Dr. Greer, I would actually challenge that. We've done a lot of pharmaceutical advertising, and for Pfizer, we were doing Zoloft advertising. And we did a campaign basically demystifying mental illness that is basically serotonin issues. And I personally got notes from people, thank you for opening my eyes, and we basically introduced Zoloft and what it could do to people who need help. So what is wrong with that?
Well, that's a good topic you bring up. The FDA actually had to step in recently and change the labels with a warning ad because some of these prescriptions for antidepressants with adolescents was causing probably a suicide risk. And many of these prescriptions may have been unnecessarily written if they weren't promoted so much by DC ads. The whole problem really started back in 1990.
So the advertising was causing the doctors to write the script, and that was...
Well, actually...
Maybe those were some physicians that were not, kind of properly doing their jobs.
Well, that's the problem. Doctors have very little incentive to say no when a patient comes in and requests a certain drug because of the third-party payer system flaw of healthcare economics. No one's actually directly paying for it, so it's a flaw in the market that's being exploited, really.
But Dr. Greer, you emailed me and I got involved in the discussion. What I thought was most cogent, and I wish you could talk a little bit about it on our show, is that there are some medicines that frankly shouldn't be prescripted at all, that are
yes.
Medicines where there are generic alternatives, and the companies may be gaming the system by advertising those. Can you speak directly to those companies?
Well, absolutely. These advertisements either waste money in the system at best or cause medical harm at worst. And Nexium's a great example, which is just Prilosec, same drug with a little fluke in it where they gave it a different name. Claritin, Clarinex, the drug company wants you to use the more expensive Clarinex. The prescriptions have gone up 145%. Excuse me, the DTC expenditures have gone up 145% since 1997 when the regulations were lifted. And there's some good General Accounting Office reports and a report to Congress that there's strong evidence that these ads do influence overuse. And there was a recent JAMA article just last week where the more effective beta blockers, which are generic drugs for hypertension, are not being used, and the more expensive calcium channel blockers, which are still under patent, are being used. So,
isn't it safe, Dr. Greer, you could also say that basically beer advertising, boy, some people are going to abuse that. How do you say, if you basically go on the premise that, there are a lot of good drugs out there and a lot of intelligently marketed drugs that are introduced to people and helping people, obviously there's always going to be some misuses. So do you say take this off the air completely? We shouldn't be marketing consumers?
I would hold off from going that far. However, the rest of the world does not allow it, pretty much. No one in Europe, the European community, does not allow direct-to-consumer television ads. But there's some problems with the healthcare economics that need to be fixed. The numbers are astonishing. Pfizer spent $650 million in 2003 on TV ads alone, which is probably about 3 times what George Bush or John Kerry will spend to get elected, and it just sort of puts it in perspective.
Yeah, but Dr. Greer, let's say we happen to be watching an ad right now on cholesterol,
right.
Okay?
Yeah.
My wife's cholesterol zoomed up because she went on a particular diet I don't want to knock right now, but if she didn't know about it, she wouldn't have known that she could lower her cholesterol. She found out about it because of some ad. I mean, isn't that good?
Well, I keep hearing these comments that ads are good, and I challenge you to tell me of some specific examples of ads that are informative. Most of them are a joke. Most of them are Cialis ads.
Zoloft, Zyrtec,
Come on.
Lamisil. I mean, I can go on and on and on.
You're not short at it. Are you sure? You're not short
Lipitor.
I'm not short
to
any.
say that pharmaceutical ads are not effective is just insane. I mean, many of them are effective, and obviously some are not. and we've got to watch those things, but clearly there's a lot of important information.
They're
out there.
effective at increasing prescription use. Every dollar spent by the pharmaceuticals increases sales by $4.
And doesn't that also allow them to put more? I'm not here to show for the drug companies, but obviously if they're selling more stuff, they can put more into R&D. Their percentages are under 10% as far as what they're putting in versus
Big Pharma.
R&D.
Sorry to interrupt. If the innovative companies are like biotech, those are the companies really developing R&D-driven drugs. Big Pharma has turned into a marketing and distribution company. They spend almost as much on marketing as a whole as R&D. They spent $30 billion in 2001 in R&D and $19 billion on marketing as a whole. I mean, all it's doing is making the big companies have an advantage over the smaller innovative companies.
All right. Unfortunately, we have to leave it there, Dr. Stephen Greer. Look, I think you make some good points. I think Donnie makes some good points. Donnie, we got KNC Talk, where I'm going to bring a little bit, I want to circle back on this, because I think it's a topic that everybody, including the so-called male enhancement drugs, everybody's flipping out over.
Yes.
So we will spend some more time on that. Dr. Greer, you're most informative on the issue. Next, the CEO of IHOP with her secret phrase.